Hi, my name is Dylan Lee, and today in this presentation, I will be discussing the work and research I've done on DAOs and blockchains, the theoretical and practical implementation. And just a little bit about me to preface it. I am a third-year data science major at UCSD and also currently minoring in cognitive science and mathematics. This will be my second quarter working with the Arno research endeavor, and I'm very interested in the applications of data science in database systems, robotics, blockchains, and the metaverse. So all the research and work that I will be discussing in this presentation will be encapsulated within my abstract as well as this research poster. So first off, let's just introduce what I don't consider to be a problem space, but more so a space for possibility. So the why behind NFTs, blockchains, and DAOs. So much of our world is becoming very digitized onto a virtual platform and even being entirely simulated and recreated within the metaverse. And this is definitely true for monetary and asset related transactions, which will continue to grow in appeal and popularity in high demand. And some well-known examples that you can probably already think of include Apple Pay and Venmo and various types of cryptocurrencies such as Bitcoin, Dogecoin, etc. So what are non-fungible tokens? And what's the hype behind them? So what we currently refer to as NFTs, they are assets which encompass a wide variety of artifacts that contain any speculative, intrinsic, and monetary value. And these often can be thought of as art, video, audio, and much more. And NFTs are usually transactable on a virtual blockchain. The high demand behind NFTs is that they can offer enticing speculative value on a virtual medium, such as the metaverse, and this consequently attracts thousands and thousands of users. But this kind of raises the question of how can we regulate and monitor the actions of all these thousands of individual users on a virtual market? And this is where decentralized autonomous organizations, aka DAOs, come in. And while there is just more so a generic internet definition, which is an organization conducted by rules encoded as a computer program that is often transparent, controlled by the organization's members and not influenced by a central government, aka they are member-owned communities without a centralized leadership. I think that a more intuitive and pragmatic step-by-step approach that we'll briefly discuss in further detail will be more informative. So decentralized autonomous organizations, or what I'll refer to as DAOs, allow users to interact in a democratized, transparent, and automatically decentralized platform. And in doing so, users no longer need to vest their trust and their rights into a sole overpowering hierarchy to operate efficiently. And while we often think of DAOs as fueling the transactions of money-backed materialistic NFTs, there is a possible and potentially revolutionary DAO that isn't funded by these capitalist incentives, but rather one where users of the DAO are encouraged to provide resources for educational and practical work. And one example of this is virtualized hardware on remote computing platforms, which allow physically displaced users who don't have normally physical access to such computing power, the ability to harbor these resources through a virtual blockchain. And such a DAO would promote a self-sustaining and thriving community. So this is a diagram taken from the research poster shown earlier, and this kind of is a holistic overall view of how the DAO works, but we'll go into how it specifically operates step by step. So this would be the theoretical implementation of a DAO. So I would say that it's generalizable in a 5-step process. First, a prospective user provides a monetary contribution or an asset, such as in this case, virtualized hardware, as discussed earlier, to the DAO for our current members to use. Essentially what they're doing is they're providing a resource in order to gain membership into the DAO that will benefit other pre-existing users. And in return, they will receive a form of credit, which we commonly think of as a coin or a token denoting the proprietary membership in the DAO, but this can also be non-monetary as well. So the collective user base of credit owners exhibit overall governance in the DAO as what we can think of as a democracy. And in this case, it would be weighted votes proportional to the magnitude of credit ownership. So for example, if the governing body of a DAO wanted to vote on performing some action, users with more credit would have votes that count more. So votes in this case would be proportional to the amount of credit owned by a user. And there's various governance protocols that can be implemented in order to detect fraudulent behavior amongst transactions and evict offending users from the DAO to control their behavior and prevent illegal fraudulency. And this was actually done in past research I've conducted. So this is a past poster in which I used graph theory algorithms to analyze the legitimacy of NFT transactions. Essentially, to summarize this work, given a network graph comprised of a virtual blockchain market that has all the transactions of different users and pairs of users, by using maximum spanning force algorithms such as Kruskal's algorithm or Prim's algorithm that detect the maximum spanning force, we can detect users that are likely to be participating in fraudulent transactions through having a suspiciously high number of transactions between shared users in order to artificially inflate the prices of their assets. And again, this is just a brief summarization, but if you're interested in learning more about this, then this poster will definitely explain it in a lot more detail. So going forward with more of the steps behind the theoretical implementation of a DAO. So first, the governing user base of a DAO can collectively vote to purchase other assets or collections liquidated and minted into what we commonly refer to NFTs using the weighted vote process that's generally common amongst most pre-existing DAOs that I discussed in step 3. And larger assets can even be fractionalized into smaller tokens. So basically, given if the governing body of a DAO collectively decides upon buying a very large collection of NFTs, then they can be divvied up into smaller, more manageable tokens. And this can be very beneficial in that it creates cheaper assets for newer users with less initial starting capital. And this in turn adds more manageable liquidity within the market. So in the applications of perhaps a metaverse blockchain, users who create very substantially large assets can perhaps break them down into individual tokenized NFTs for other users to transact. And with cryptographic hashing, NFTs act as digital ledgers for users to denote their ownership over any asset registered in the blockchain. So by using a combination of encrypted public key and private keys, this hashing allows transactions to be not only secure, but also ingrained within the virtual record. And NFTs can be securely sold and then transacted as any typical good that we can think of, just now on the virtual market of the blockchain. So now that we've discussed the theoretical implementations, we can also discuss how to practically implement this as well. So currently there's a prototype DAO protocol that utilizes an additional JavaScript API key using the aforementioned public key and private keys. And the way that this DAO works is that it hashes into virtual Ethereum wallets of any user seeking to gain membership. And this is done on what we call the Rinkeby test network. And this is a mock platform for developers that provides Ethereum. In this case, it's fake Ethereum that doesn't require you to pay beforehand. So this is very, very free for a lot of open source developers. And as the blockchain itself, it can be constructed through the Solana programming language, specifically through its Python and Rust APIs to simulate the minting and transactions of NFTs. So with that being said, I just would like to provide a quick demo of this in action. So let me exit the slides real quick. So currently what I have here is, as you can see on the screen, this is currently an application for a prototype DAO. And how this would work is it connects to the Ethereum wallet said earlier. So let's just click on connect a wallet. And what it does is it actually pulls up an Ethereum wallet on this application called MetaMask. And currently I have a couple prototype users already, but I'll just connect to this current one. And upon connecting, now that in this case, joining this DAO is completely free, and upon joining this DAO will actually mint you an NFT to denote your membership. So let's click this button. So currently it's minting the NFT, and we will confirm this transaction. And this will just take a bit of time. Okay, now it appears that the NFT minting was successful and completely transacted, and we are now officially a member of the Arno DAO. So let's take a look at what this NFT actually looks like. And if we go to this additional website here, OpenSea, and this is basically a website showing NFTs, we can see that this is the NFT. And in this case for Arno, since they use a program called an infrastructure called Nautilus, I thought it would be very hand in hand to make the NFTs shells. So in this case, we have Arno shell. And the image is just a typical Nautilus shell. And about it. So we see we have the logo Nautilus, and this is Arno's own DAO for governing the metaverse. So this is currently the NFT prototype for this prototype DAO. And if we were to go here to this website, this is Etherscan, and this is basically just a network that records all the transactions done on the Rinkeby test network that we're currently using our wallets on. So here we see that there's been a couple transactions already. And these transactions were the ones that we just did, actually, when we minted our NFT. So this is just for the actual token itself for the Arno DAO membership. But if we were to go here, we can see that there's also, for every token, there's a contract created linking that token to its user. And as you can see, there's already been a couple contracts being made in terms of internal transactions between the DAO minting the NFT to users that have been already done through prototype testing. And the last step that I would like to show is a dashboard of basically the DAO itself in terms of its membership as well as governance tokens. So let's first look at the membership. So here we see the membership is currently quite very simple because this is just a prototype, and it just shows the NFT that marks your signifier of your membership with the DAO. But there was also another thing that I'd like to show, which is the governance token. And the governance token can be thought of as something separate from the NFT created earlier, which just signifies your membership with the DAO. But this governance token kind of signifies more so how much you've contributed to the DAO and more so your legislative power when you voted. And because our user just joined, we could see that they would probably intuitively have no tokens. So currently there's a total supply of around 1 million tokens, and currently we owned none. And in order to earn these tokens, in order to participate in legislative actions for collective governance, we would probably need to participate in some way, shape, or form to benefit the overall community through allocating resources to help other users within the DAO. So that concludes the demo, and let's just go back to the slides. So lastly, I kind of want to discuss the broader impacts for the future regarding where we will go with NFTs, blockchains, and DAOs. So further development of the Solana backend for the production of NFTs, mints, and smart contracts is definitely something that should be a future endeavor given more bandwidth in terms of time and labor. And aside from the research discussed earlier involving graph theory, I think it's very important to explore various new governance protocols in order to regulate user interaction. And different political systems can be theorized and thought of to perhaps promote secure and legal transactions. And finally, further integration of these sort of blockchain DAO protocols into the metaverse for user-created assets and resources to help create more infrastructure for virtual transactions is definitely something I think should be further developed and worked on in the future as a future goal. And most importantly, though, this theorized DAO establishes a starting base that there's a possible reality of a virtual platform prioritizing serving the communal good. And that concludes my presentation. So I would like to thank my supervisor, Jonathan Patton, as well as the Arthur Clarke Center for Human of Imagination for basically making this research possible and supporting these endeavors. So again, thank you so much for listening.